Wife cheated and let someone close to her know. Am I the a-hole? For a little context, I've been with my wife 13 years. She doesn't have a history of cheating. We have 2 kids together. Our relationship hasn't been great for a while. It seems like we're always trying to make it work. I'm going to try and be as unbiased with the telling of the story as I can be. A difficult thing to do, but I'll try. So, we just bought a new house together a little over a week ago and hired a contractor to build a small half wall around a set of stairs that leads to the basement. My wife had set up an ad looking for a contractor, so she was the one talking to him about times and whatnot. Last Saturday, she told me the contractor would be there around 11 a.m. My youngest daughter had dance class about a 25-minute drive away at 9:10 that morning. My wife asked me if I'd mind taking the other kid for a drive too, as with all the stress of moving, she just needed to relax. Which is understandable. She's the one who's done most of the planning. I know she's been stressed, so I say sure. I get back close to 11 a.m. and the contractor is there, and he just started what he was there to do that day. He left a while later. The following day, my wife starts talking about the contractor's background and mentioned he had past criminal history. She then tells me he was inappropriately messaging her and then admits she wasn't appropriate either. I ask if she had messages, and they had been deleted already. She said the inappropriateness didn't last long and that she was really sorry, but she had stopped a while ago. Obviously, I was upset about this, but I kept it together and told her I was going for a drive to clear my head and pick up something I needed. About 5 minutes after I left, my mind went back to the previous day and remembered that my wife had asked me if I could turn the water on so she could freshen up, as water to the house was shut off due to a slow leak, and that the contractor was there with her alone before I got there that day, and that she made sure both kids were out of the house. I turned around as something just felt off. I questioned her, and she eventually spit out that she had kissed, and that was all. Then after more prying, she admitted to going down on him. I was furious. I threw him a cup of coffee on the ground, screamed a few expletives at her, and stormed out. I was crushed and furious. Now here's the part where I could be an a-hole. My wife's parents' opinion of her has always been very important to her. I'm not going to pretend I had good motives here. I wanted to hurt her like she hurt me. So I texted her mother and told her exactly what she did with the contractor, and told my wife that her deceased father would be thoroughly ashamed of her. She has struggled with his passing. It's been almost 5 years and it's still a struggle for her. I also sent my wife a screenshot of what I said to her mother. I realize it sounds childish that I told her mama on her more or less, but her mother's opinion of her means so much to her. She eventually got me back to the house that night. She had told me the dog got out and was missing. But when I pulled in, she told me that she had just come back, so I left again. She seemed to be having a mental health crisis, so I texted her mother and told her she needed to come down to stay with her daughter, but I would go back until she got there. When I got there, my wife was gone already, likely only a minute or two. My 2 kids were asleep inside, so I obviously went in, as I couldn't leave them alone, and again informed her mother of the change. After some texting, my wife pulled in and asked me to come out and talk to her. I insisted. I was too angry to have a calm conversation, and I wasn't going to. She said fine and told me to sleep in the house and she would sleep in a van. She convinced me to let her in to grab something, so I did, but she wouldn't leave. I tried to leave, but she eventually convinced me to sleep in the bedroom and she would sleep on a couch. I agreed. She made her way to the bedroom anyway. Eventually, we decided we wouldn't do anything too rash. I made it clear that I might still leave her yet. Kids in a new house purchase makes leaving difficult. She has admitted that what she did was terrible and unforgivable, and did seem remorseful. Over the last few days, she has been trying to get me to tell her mother that what I said wasn't true. I didn't tell anyone else. Complaining that it has ruined her relationship with her mom, that she is so ashamed and can't even look at her. She did admit she cheated and kissed the contractor, but that is all she admitted to her mom. For the first couple days, I was firm and not a chance in hell would I do that. But I eventually decided that I don't want to permanently damage her relationship with her mother and told her that there was a miscommunication and I jumped to conclusions. Things had been going okay-ish, a few blowouts here and there, but today, my wife texted me and said that while she knows what she did was the worst thing ever, she doesn't know if she can forgive me for telling her mother what she did and ruining their relationship. Honestly, I saw red at that point. Am I overreacting here? I feel like she's trying to tell me that what I did was worse and unforgivable. Am I the a-hole? Clarity edit. This was the contractor's 3rd time at our house, and my wife had been chatting and flirting with him over the course of the week. He built a wall with drywall, so as most would probably realize you can't do all the mudding in one go. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, of course. She doesn't know if she can forgive me for telling her mother what she did and ruining the relationship. Don't care. Actions have consequences. This. Your wife played a mess around and find out game. It's squarely in the find out phase. Honestly, it's not even in the find out phase yet. OP is being far too forgiving of his spouse's intentional cheating, and she likely felt more comfortable doing it because they had just invested in a major, semi-permanent purchase of a home. She even got him to go back to sleep in the bedroom and then invaded that space. It doesn't seem like the first time she has done something wrong and then manipulated her way back into the picture. Not the a-hole. I would say super petty, but not the a-hole. She's trying to deflect the guilt to you. Also, I doubt it was just oral. I would say if you think you can forgive, then therapy is necessary. But if you can't forgive and let go, then I would say look at separation. Also, if she can't forgive you, then does she deserve forgiveness from you? Absolutely, it was petty. I 100% own that. After she admitted kissing, I felt that way too. She swore up and down on her deceased father and the kids that she didn't sleep with him. But the way she said it was what made me ask her about other things like oral. I asked her to swear on her deceased father that nothing else happened, and she wouldn't. That's when she admitted oral. I agree with your last point too. That's what has me so angry right now. How the heck can you say you're not sure you can forgive me for telling your mother what you did? The problem is you did it. Actions have consequences. I still think what I did wasn't out of line, but I recanted for her relationship with her mom. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife no? Original post. My wife, 35 female, and I, 38 male, have been married for 12 years, dated for 3 before that. We have 3 kids, 10 male, 7 female, 5 female. We both work full-time in separate fields. She does some chemistry thing that I don't understand, and I am a manager at a computer repair store my friend runs, and also a short story writer when it's low. She is definitely the breadwinner bill payer between the two of us, but I bring in the fun money for our family and would be completely listless if I didn't at least work part-time. We also fully own our home because of her job. Also, my parents watch the kids for us during the week when we are working. It's been this way since our son was born, and they've been doing it less since they're all in school. But it's free childcare, and they refuse to accept money unless it's reimbursing for buying food. Okay, now that all of that backstory is set, here's where the problem begins. A couple of months ago, my wife started to pepper into conversations about a possible promotion coming up that would get her out of the lab and into a more managed lab team position with less dangerous hours for more pay. Ever since the first time she mentioned it, I've been hyping her up and telling her she's a shoo-in for the promotion, especially since she's been working there since her master's internship and now she has a PhD. Last night, she told me she was getting word today if she got it. After she left for work this morning, I called my boss up and told him I couldn't come in today, and then told my parents the kids were staying with me. We spent the day cleaning the house, drawing congratulations cards, and making a congratulations banner. We also made a couple cards that say sorry and we love you for if she didn't get it. I was working on making her favorite dinner, lobster rolls with lobster bisque because she's a fancy lady, when she got home earlier than normal. Everyone was surprised because no one is usually home at this time, and yet here everyone was. She got tears in her eyes seeing everything we were still working on, got down and hugged our 2 youngest, and said she got the promotion. Cheering all around. And that's when she dropped the bomb, saying we need to get a realtor in Estate 3 away from us so we can relocate within the next 2 months. I was stunned and just said no. We aren't moving for this promotion. In all of her talks, she never mentioned that the promotion wasn't for the same location she's been at. All of our family's here, her parents and mine, all of our friends are here. My job is here. She insisted that she's mentioned relocating before, but I swear she never did. That set off a completely new argument about never listening to her and only hearing what I want to hear, and how this will make it so I can stay home with the kids and not even need a fun money job. During this, I noticed she was typing on her phone, and when I asked why she was multitasking an argument, she said she was texting my parents to get the kids so they don't have to see this. When my parents got here, they congratulated her on the promotion and asked how long until we move. She told my parents the promotion included relocation. I'm typing this on the couch in the basement because I can't face her right now. My parents knowing means she probably did say we would need to move if she got it. I don't want to move. I like my job and our house. I like being near my parents. I know this would practically set us for life, but I don't want to. I know I'm being selfish, and I know I must not be listening when she talks, but I still don't think she should accept the promotion. I still think no. Now for the update. Info. I've been tested for ADD as a kid but did not get diagnosed, though I guess that would be something that can change as I age. I probably should get tested for ADHD, considering she's told me her exact job many times and it refuses to stick in my brain. It's something to do with the environmental testing, like soil, water, etc. It's definitely not incredibly dangerous, but it involves chemicals, so there's always some danger. Info. There were many conversations in general about her possible promotion, mostly about upgrading cars and electronics. It was never really anything detailed beyond that. Info. I don't actually know why my parents never mentioned it. I should probably ask them at some point. Info. Our kids do have friends in school, though in these few weeks they never really talked about anything with me. It was like everyone was walking on eggshells where I was concerned. My son did say we needed a school with a good soccer team though, so he had some opinions after the argument. Info. When my parents got the kids, she stormed up to our room and I went and hid in the basement. I was definitely being a coward, but I also wanted us both to calm down. It did feel silly asking this forum about this, but I've been here since 2010. I was falling back on previous safe heaven. The next conversation did not happen. That next morning, she was acting like I was perfectly fine with everything, and we weren't arguing in the first place. It was weird, but after the argument in front of our kids and venting here, I decided that I would support my wife. If my parents knew we were moving, I was clearly in the wrong. Now for the update. This is of course when things started breaking down. Buckle up. This is going to get stupid. And if you think this sounds like a bad story, you try living it. Within days of the announcement, we had a realtor looking at houses for us near what will be her new office. She was planning on being the one to do a final walkthrough after we picked a house via photos, so she could multitask and get acclimated at the new job location. It was her suggestion, and I did not want to rock the boat any further. Conversations between us were only about logistics at this point. How would we handle moving? When was my last day? Where were the kids getting transferred to, etc.? It was very stilted. At any time I would try to just talk normally, she would ignore me. The next time I had work, one of her coworkers came in with her kid's busted laptop. The screen took some kind of sports ball to the face basically. As I was filling out the intake form, she asked me how our kids were handling the transfer. When I asked her what she meant, she clarified that she was talking about the transfer request my wife put in to the office she's had a promotion transferred her to. I told her that my wife didn't put in a transfer request, but instead was given a promotion with a transfer. She then told me my wife's had that promotion since January and recently put in a transfer request that was approved. The promotion that included a hefty pay raise. When she left, I checked our bank account on my phone and saw that the same amount she's always been paid was still what she was getting. I believed the coworker must have been mistaken, but when I went home, I spoke to my wife about it. She told me that the coworker was just jealous she had been passed over for the promotion and wanted to add to the drama in our house. That seemed to break the ice a bit, and I was able to apologize to her for the misunderstanding and the argument. She told me she accepted the apology and that she assumed it was coming because of how helpful and attentive I had been. According to her, I was paying more attention than normal, and she appreciated it. She must have spoken with a coworker about this at some point, because when she came to pick up the laptop a few days later, she refused to speak with me past hello and here's the bill and was glaring the entire time. After that conversation, things seemed to settle. I wasn't happy about the relocation, but I didn't want our family to break apart all because I wasn't paying as much attention as I should. This new attitude was the final nail. We had started organizing things, throwing away and donating things we didn't remember even having, etc. to prepare for the move. While I was going through a closet where she normally hid the kids' Christmas presents, I found a few old laptops. She claimed that she hides everyone's presents in that closet and that I found her birthday present for me. Just some things to tinker while we settle. Not totally weird, but it was a little. She probably knows about as much about my work as I do about hers. I also found a few books that belonged to her mother, so I figured that I could start to mend that bridge as her parents never liked me and bring them the books. I did not tell my wife about this, but considering the level of dust on them, I'm sure she forgot they were there. Her parents live a few hours away from us. Not even slightly as close as my parents, but they would still be states away after the move. I drove the entire way, no meeting halfway or anything. It was an awkward meeting, but her mom did appreciate me bringing the books to them. Apparently, she thought she had lost them. We did some stilted small talk over a late lunch, and I asked how they felt about my wife's promotion and move. They seemed a little confused, and stuff was slowly unraveled. According to her mother, she mentioned the promotion in January when she got it. She had mentioned to her dad that we were saving the extra money just in case because of a business venture my boss and I were planning. According to her, we were going to try opening a location in the city we were moving to, and I would be leading it. Her parents said they knew I had some failed investments and plans in the past, so they were honestly not hopeful this would go well, but they were glad she was able to transfer with her promotion to the other office. Guys, I had no idea what they were talking about. Investments or plans? I'd done the same job since college, and I've never invested money a day in my life. I said as much and then also told them I was going home to talk to wife. I don't really know how they reacted. I was basically in tunnel vision. Probably shouldn't have been driving. So much ran through my head during that drive home, and I was ready to confront her about everything. I guess her parents called while I was driving back, and it tripped her up enough that she just told me everything. She was cheating on me, had been for years. Once she got the promotion in January, she set up a second bank account and had them split the check between the two. Her boyfriend at the city we were moving to had access to the new account. He already owned a house, but he used some of the money to fix it up a bit and was just waiting for us to come. I guess to sweep her off her poor feet after my business venture failed. She didn't tell me about relocating on purpose. She's been poisoning her parents' thoughts of me for years, and she's been lying to my parents and children. She also told a coworker that started this thread that I never listened to her, and the misunderstanding was just another instance. She told me she never thought so many things would come undone at once. She's still planning on moving. Me and the kids aren't.
Am I the a-hole for not delaying my wedding because my sister is going through a terrible divorce? My sister Rachel is separating from her husband Mark. Somebody anonymously sent Mark a letter in the mail claiming their 3 kids weren't his, ages 1, 3, and 4. Mark took a paternity test because the letter was so detailed that he had a feeling it might be true. The results came back and he wasn't the father of any of the kids. And Mark now wants nothing to do with my sister or my nieces and nephew. It's been hard on her, and everyone has been shaken. The problem is my fiancé and I are getting married soon. Everything is set for the end of October, and everyone is excited. But Rachel, she's told me multiple times to change the wedding date, so she can heal from the trauma of her husband abandoning her and their children. I told her no, and she burst into tears claiming I wasn't being supportive and that she wasn't coming. My fiancé's family have all booked time off to come to this wedding because they live out of state. But she claims I'm choosing his family over her. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. All 3 of their children aren't his? That she repeatedly cheated on her husband and is now dealing with the consequences does not mean you don't get to move along with your life's plan. How would that sound anyway? I'm postponing my wedding so my sister that basically cheated on her husband 3 times can feel supported. Not the a-hole. I can't believe none of the kids are his. Poor guy. Your sister is the a-hole. She's at fault for her marriage collapsing, then demands everyone else to stop their lives so she can heal from the trauma of the consequences of her actions catching up to her. Definitely the a-hole. The nerve of her to say he abandoned his wife and children. None of the children were his. He is not the father, and they're young enough, at least, to not be too affected if she puts in the work. She probably won't. Not the a-hole. Your sister caused much of her own trauma. She lied, and I would assume cheated on her husband, so she left her. She wasn't just abandoned. Enjoy your wedding. Probably best if she wasn't there anyways. Obi's ex-brother-in-law is the only one entitled to feel trauma. And those poor kids, especially the older ones. Not the Obi. You already had the day basically ready. People already have the time off. And personal bias. Halloween wedding? That better go through. Your sister talks about getting over trauma, yet she's the one that I'm sure broke a man. Enjoy your wedding and bust out a monster bash. She can take this time to either look for a sitter for the kids or learn how to deal with her own choices in life. If I were a guest and had arranged time off, transportation, hotel, etc. for this wedding, and then the date was moved because someone who is neither the bride nor groom cheated on their spouse years ago, don't bother inviting me to the new date. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to share my inheritance with a sibling? I don't have anyone I can share these thoughts with in person, so I'm hoping you guys can help me resolve this. I, 20 male, am a single child, or at least I thought I was. Then just over a year ago, I discovered that I have a sister, Lucy. The story goes that my mother had a child with her first boyfriend while she was in college, and they couldn't support her, so she opted for adoption at birth. My father was aware of this, but I was never told. Anyways, about a year ago, she made contact with our mother. They've gotten on pretty well, kept in touch, and go on the odd lunch. Lucy's also attended a couple of our family events this past year. Her and I get along fine as well. We're different people, so not friends. So I sort of see her as an acquaintance/friend of the family, I guess. It's a little odd because I know we're closely related, but at the same time, she doesn't feel like family, if that makes sense. Okay, so there's the backstory. Now on to the dilemma. My grandparents on my mother's side both passed away a few years ago. My mother was their only child, and I their only grandchild, and they left their entire estate to me. This was known to my parents and me before they passed, as they had expressed it when they made their will. My parents are well off financially. Mom's a nurse while Dad's a doctor, and so they were fine with the arrangement. I was given access to the money on my 20th birthday, and the sum of money was much larger than I expected, totaling around $6 million. This is why I can't really talk about this with anyone impartial, because I don't really want friends etc. to know. Anyway, a few weeks ago my mother sat me down and asked me to share the money with Lucy. Now here's the thing. Like I said, to me Lucy is essentially an acquaintance. I know we're related by blood, but I don't exactly feel the type of connection to her that would merit giving her such a large sum of money, or any money at all for that matter. So I explained that to my mother, and she wasn't exactly happy with my answer. She believes I'm being extremely selfish, and that Lucy could very much benefit from this money as well, since she's still a college student and in debt. Here's where I think I might be the a-hole. I don't really see that as my problem. I believe families who feels like family, not who shares your DNA. Secondly, my grandparents were aware of Lucy's existence, even though they never met her, and they chose to leave everything to me all the same. Also, it is not as though Lucy grew up poor in the foster system or anything. She was adopted at birth by what seems like two great people. Her adoptive parents are an accountant and a teacher. I do not plan to just hoard the money. I am starting law school this year, and plan to use it to start my own firm once I'm finished. So go forth and judge me, please. Am I being a selfish a-hole here, or am I justified in thinking that simply being related by blood doesn't merit any claim here? Not a-hole. Your grandparents were aware of Lucy's existence, and they chose not to leave her an inheritance. I'm guessing, since she was legally adopted, your grandparents didn't feel it was necessary. Also, Opie's mother was obviously aware of Lucy's existence, but seemingly did nothing about it until now. Either way, not a-hole. Yeah, the adoption took away any legal right, at least where I'm from, to the inheritance. Mom tries to make up for giving her daughter away by giving away Opie's money. Though I get the sentiment this will only divide a family. Really hope she didn't tell her daughter about the inheritance, as that could have set her up for a lot of hurt and fighting. Also, depending on where Opie lives, you should refrain from giving even a small amount of money, as that could be counted as admittance if the sister ever should try to sue. Not a-hole. Your mother's parents could have made provisions for your mother and/or the daughter she gave up for adoption if they wanted. Your mother is free to make whatever arrangements she sees fit with her estate, but your grandparents made their wishes known when they left their estate to you. I agree. Your parents seem to be doing well, and now that you have that money, they could focus their finances on her. My father makes a majority of the family's income, and this isn't his child. So I don't know how he would feel about financing her. Should have mentioned that. By the same token, she is not your child. I generally agree with the no a-hole commentary. I'm just going to point out that if you don't share, that's totally valid. Just don't be surprised later if your mom leaves more to Lucy than you might otherwise expect, as her way of equalizing. Next story. Am I the a-hole for lashing out at my sister for not shutting up about adoption decision? My girlfriend, 25 female, is almost 4 months pregnant. We try to be careful with protection, but I guess we messed up, and here we are. Her and I, 25 male, decided adoption will be best. We want kids in the future, but we're both working minimum wage jobs, barely making it okay with the bills every month. And we talked about it a lot before we decided it just wouldn't be fair if our baby had to live in horrible conditions because it will get expensive when we could find someone who might be able to. We found this couple through friends of friends, and we are getting to know them pretty well, seeing what kind of people they are. My family knows we're choosing this route, and for the most part, support it. My sister, 35, however, keeps pushing that we keep the baby. She has 3 kids herself, and all she keeps saying is parenthood is hard, but it's rewarding. I've told her, yeah, we get that. We want kids, but in the future with better jobs and us not counting change in our pockets to take the train to work. It's been hard enough accepting the reality that we won't get to raise our first baby together, and her constant comments don't make it better. Even when I ask her, tell me how we're gonna support a baby, she just said she doesn't know, but you'll find a way. I've told her many times to stop talking about it because of everything it does to us, and she's not even being helpful. Today at my mom's, she still brings it up again. Just saying she really thinks we're making a mistake and talking about how tough it'll be as a parent, but it'll be worth it. My girlfriend got all upset. She went to the bathroom. And I don't know. I just told her to shut up already. Exactly like that. And that I'm sick of her always talking about this. We know everything we're going to miss out on, so stop talking already. It wasn't like screaming or anything, but I did raise my voice at her because I was just so frustrated already. We didn't stay long, but yeah, my sister does think I was an a-hole for having that reaction, and she didn't deserve to be told shut up for simply caring about her future niece/nephew. We've never fought like this before, but I really couldn't take it anymore. She won't talk to me, still thinks I was in the wrong. It's hard to see how, but maybe I missed something. Was I an a-hole? Now for the comments. Not an a-hole. You made a very hard, extremely mature decision. Your sister has zero say in it, and if she haven't understand it by now, I guess now she does. If she cares about the baby so much, she can adopt it herself. Good luck, Opie. Funny thing is, I suggested that if she's so adamant about us keeping the baby, but she just told me to stop being ridiculous. Yeah, sounds like she cares so much about future nephew/niece. Not stay home. You've thought about it thoroughly and made what you feel is the best decision for yourselves and your child. Your sister needs to back off and realize it's not a decision you made lightly. If she's that adamant you keep the child, is she planning to help you out financially? Unless she is, she has no say in anything. As someone who struggled with fertility, thank you. Thank you for doing the best for your child. Thank you for giving someone a chance at parenthood that they may not have had otherwise. And good luck with everything. You're doing an incredible, selfless thing. I've brought that up before, and obviously her answer is don't be ridiculous, and then that she has 3 kids she's already supporting. That means a lot. Usually don't get all watery eyes for a comment, but this one does it. Hasn't been easy, especially for my girlfriend. I wish we didn't have to make this choice, but we know this is for the best. I really hope things worked out for you. Hey Opie, I don't know if you're planning an open adoption. Sounds like it. But regardless, a lot can happen over years. I advise you and your girlfriend to write a letter to the baby explaining your decision and how much you love it and wish the timing could have been better. Give it to the adoptive parents. If anything happens, they move away, the relationship sours, something happens to you and/or your girlfriend, etc., then the child will always have your reasons and your love. Something like that, yeah. They'd like for the baby to know about us as they grow up, even if we're not in contact. We're doing something like that, but it's more like a personal journal from each of us, a letter and some pictures. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for RSVPing no to my stepsister's wedding? My stepsister Serena and I have been stepsisters since I was 5 and she was 9, but we have known each other longer. I honestly don't remember my life before she or her mom were in it. Serena's dad passed away when she was a baby, and my mom died 18 months after my dad married my stepmom. So we essentially lived together for a large chunk of our childhoods. But she never did consider me family or her sister. She's older, so I get that the experience was different for her, and she remembers a life before me. I never took it too personally, though I did try to make us closer over the years, but she was never interested. People used to tell me that once we were adults, it would be easier because we'd be at the same stage in life. Serena's getting married in a little over 2 months, and I decided to RSVP no to the invite. I was always a little awkward about going, but I would have. But last month, my parents invited Serena's bridesmaids over to thank them for being part of the wedding. There, I learned that one of her friend's younger sister was also going to be a bridesmaid. This is a friend she has known since senior year of high school. The younger sister is apparently someone she considers a sister. The youngest sister then told me Serena always said she was the sister she never had and stuff. That she had specially asked her to be in the wedding because she considered her as close to a baby sibling as she ever got, and wanted her there. Said nothing, but it just made me realize that she actively chose not to try with me, but could choose to try with one of her friend's siblings she met years after meeting me. Through talking with Serena's little sister, I realized she had made such a big effort to hang out with and spend time with her. It went to her milestones like graduation or even big birthdays. Sweet 16, 21st. She never showed up to that stuff for me, or when she did, my 21st she did show for. She made no effort to hang out with me. She went because her mom had paid for an open bar, and some of her family was going to be there. I don't remember her even speaking to me that night. So I RSVP'd no, and her future husband sent me an email, with my name wrong, that Serena didn't want her mom to know. But then he went and mentioned it to my dad and now it has blown up. My dad asked why I wouldn't attend, and her mom is saying that after all she has done for me, I should show up and be part of the family event. To me, I might be their family, but Serena has made it very clear I'm not hers. I don't think I did anything wrong, but I feel guilty too because this has made ripples in my family. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, Serena's little sister had no idea I was her stepsister. The little I gathered is, she thought I was a niece of my dad, or as she put it, her mom's husband's niece. Another point, because it may be relevant, is she doesn't talk to me. I make the effort, but she does not communicate with me of her own volition. I was always the one trying to engage with her. Even as basic as a hi, I don't get from her. Not day home. Why go to a wedding of someone who has made zero effort to make you feel important to them? I wouldn't go. Not day home. Would Opie even be invited to be part of the photos? Or at best, be tolerated as part of them? It's okay. You don't need to humiliate yourself to make others happy. You did your best. You don't owe anyone more than that. Don't feel bad. Your parents and step are the a-holes for guilting you rather than your stepsister. It's clear she doesn't consider you a sister. You're not obligated to carry on the charade. I know I've been indifferent at best to you your entire life, and I don't acknowledge our relationship at all. Actually, I don't even really like you. But our parents want me to invite you, and I really want more presents. Does she even want you to come? Will she even say hi? Will she notice if you're not there? Oh, will she even say how she knows you? Or will you be an old family friend? Not stay home. Don't feel bad. You didn't do it. Stepsister caused this. You are over 21. Sit your dad and stepmom down and explain what you wrote here. Say, assure stepmom it has nothing to do with how much you appreciate what she's done for you. That you don't blame her for how sister treats you. But at this point in your lives, you give up. Include the tidbit about the soon-to-be husband didn't even get your name right and told you to keep it from her. That while you tried, you now accept it's never going to change. And hearing about the little sister she always wanted helped you see that more clearly. It makes you sad, but you won't spend any more time being the only one putting effort in. I'd put cash on guessing they didn't want the mom to know about the email, because she probably already talked to sister about you not being in the wedding. Stepmom is probably freaking out because she knows her child is being an A. Can't control your reaction either. It may be being forced to admit the ugly truth about her kid and the relationship between her and your dad. Tell them you hope her day goes the way she wants it, that they both enjoy the day, but you do not wish to pretend anymore. Am I the a-hole for hosting a fundraiser, bluntly saying that it was for a teenager whose parents left her homeless? Her parents are furious. My youngest daughter is a senior in high school. One of her best friends, Lily, just turned 18 as the school year was starting and her parents kicked her out of the house that same day. My daughter told me she was sleeping on different friends' couches and talking about dropping out to work a job. So my family took her in so she could finish school. I just can't imagine a parent kicking their kid out like that. So after we did that, my daughter and Lily decided to have a community barbecue/bake sale to fundraise for some money to cover food and housing expenses. It wasn't anything I ever asked for, but the girls wanted to do something to contribute for groceries and bills. The girls made flyers and little promos for social media, and they were pretty straightforward about what was going on. They said, community barbecue/fundraiser for Lily, and a note from Lily saying, as you may know, my parents kicked me out of the house and cut off any financial support on my 18th birthday, leaving me homeless with no money or car. The Smiths gave me a home, expecting nothing in return except I stay in school and graduate. I wanted to do something to give back and pay my own way. Anyway, I shared that on social media and so did the girls, and a lot of their friends at school. The barbecue was a huge success. Almost all of our neighbors came by, and so many kids from my daughter's school and a lot of our family and family friends. The girls ended up raising several $1,000s, which I ended up putting in an education fund for Lily, where I'm also putting stuff like the cash she gives me from her job for groceries, and stuff like that. I'm planning on surprising her with it closer to graduation. Anyway, Lily's parents are irate. They saw that I posted a flyer on a community Facebook page and most everyone in town saw it. I got a call from her dad screaming into the phone at me for slandering their family online, which I felt like was such BS. I told him to either buck up and act like a parent ought to or lose my number. He started yelling on the phone again, so I hung up and blocked his number. Then I got a bunch of calls from another number. It was Lily's mom, getting angry at me about how I don't know what she and her husband have been through, and it was trashy of me to be begging the whole town for money for myself and acting like it was their fault. I was like, well, it was your fault. And she got so angry and said that she and her husband had given her daughter everything, and that she was ungrateful, which I feel is BS because they ain't even giving her a roof over her head. Am I the a-hole for letting my daughter and her friend who was kicked out at 18 host a fundraiser that was very blunt? Said it was to raise money after her family kicked her out? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Frankly, that's just a horrible thing for a parent to do. If they don't want to get slandered, maybe don't kick your child out the instant they become an adult. As many people have pointed out, it isn't actually slander against the parents if it's true. I used slander for lack of a better term. The idea that kids magically become adult the moment they turn 18 is such BS. These awful parents were only acting as parents because they were legally required to be. The moment their child was legally an adult, they felt like they were off the hook. I'm sure their daughter is better off without them, but what a difficult journey that is. Loving parents try to make their kids' life better, not worse. Not the a-hole. They're just annoyed they've been called out on their horrible behavior, and now everyone knows about their crappy parenting. They're ashamed and angry that they've been exposed, but they're putting the blame on you instead of reflecting on their own issues. You could end a thread right there, honestly. They kicked an 18-year-old out on day one of adulthood, unprepared in the slightest. Unless she's the worst person ever. That's absolutely messed up. Not the a-hole. Imagine kicking your high schooler out of the house and then getting upset at people trying to help her out. They're probably angry they can't get their hands into fundraiser money. Right? They sound like the type of parents who think their daughter owes them something since they gave her life even though she didn't ask to be born. Infuriating. Next story. Am I the a-hole for embarrassing our female coworker? Both my husband and I work for a dispensary as co-owners and managers. He is inventory manager and I'm kitchen manager, though up until last month I was at a different shop. I recently got the transfer approval. In our shop, we only employ 11 people, 3 women including me, and 8 men. One of the women is the owner's wife and she handles the finances while the other woman, Jen, handles the front end. Now, to be blunt here, Jen is a smoke show. Drop-dead gorgeous young lady, and to be blunt again, all the men here drool over her. Probably my husband included. I mean, even I drool over her, let's be honest. But she's also, I don't know how to put it. She runs through the men here. She has already dated or hooked up with 3 of them, and recently her eyes went to my husband. I'm used to this type of behavior because my husband is also a solid 10 on a bad day. But she also knows he is married, so there is definitely a disrespectful aspects of things there. However, she did not know that I was his wife until this morning. So my husband came to me yesterday and was like, listen, Jen has been trying to take breaks with me, and she often gets into my truck without asking whenever she sees me sitting outside, asking that I smoke her up and being flirty, as in touching his arms and legs type of thing. So I asked if he wanted me to handle it, and he said, please, but don't be rude about it. Because he had already told her several times he was married and her only response is, oh, I already know that, and continues on her BS. Well, I knew this break was at 10 and I made a point to come out a few minutes later. I walked to the truck and lo and behold, Jen is in the front seat. I hear my husband say, "That's my wife's seat," and she just giggles and says she is keeping it warm. Please note we are in our 30s and this girl is 23. So, I go up to the window and say, "Thanks for keeping my seat warm, but I'm here now." She just scowls at me and says, "We are kind of talking here." So I go, "Yes, I see that, and now I would like to speak to my husband," with a smile on my face. Her face drops and she gets out quickly. Now the problem is that 3 of the guys were sitting there too, and they immediately start laughing, which embarrassed her even more. The owner's wife said I should have pulled Jen aside and said something versus embarrass her in front of everyone. Am I the a-hole? Apparently, Jen and the owner's wife are the only one who think so. Not the a-hole. Wait, so your husband directly told her to stop her behavior. It was unprofessional/unwanted. It's not cute or funny or whatever. And she continued to harass him? Why has she just not been fired? She is the owner's wife's cousin. She has been reported several times, but due to this girl being related to the owners, nothing is done. How many times has your husband had a documented meeting with HR about being harassed by this woman? Does he have the documentation showing that HR has declined to take care of the issue? He personally has only reported it once as it just recently started happening, and he does have the written statement he made to the owner's wife. This was 5 days ago. However, there are 2 other male employees whom have reported her at least 3 times between the 2 of them, and one of them didn't get a written statement as the owner's wife said it wasn't necessary. Next story. Am I the a-hole for turning away a friend after he showed up to my birthday dinner without RSVPing? I had a birthday dinner this weekend. A week before the dinner, I sent a mass text out to 8 of my friends, telling them the location, date, and time, and to let me know by a certain date if they are coming so that I can make a reservation at a hibachi place. Most people said they could come. One friend said they couldn't make it, and another friend never responded. A couple days later, I was talking to one of the friends I invited about the dinner, and they said they thought the friend who didn't answer was coming, but they weren't sure. I said that he needs to RSVP, so I have the exact head count for the reservation. I never heard from the friend who didn't respond, so I made a reservation accordingly. I should add that before I made a reservation, I texted in the mass text chain with, "Last chance to RSVP as I'm making the reservation at this time today." The day of my dinner, the friend who didn't respond showed up right as the hostess was asking for the name of the reservation. I told her that we had an extra person show up, and I apologized. She looked to see if she could place all of us, but was unable to find a place to accommodate an extra person without us having to wait 2 hours. So I told a friend who didn't RSVP that he could not join us for dinner. He got mad and told me I was a bad friend. He told me it was embarrassing to be turned away from a birthday party and that he wasted time and gas coming out. I told him he should have RSVP'd. He told me he told our friend that he might be going. I told him that wasn't good enough, and he should have told me. He told me that I should have asked him if he was coming. Am I the a-hole? Edit. For those stating I should have assumed he was coming because another friend said he might be, I don't work off of hearsay. Especially since the friend who said this is known for saying lots of things that don't turn out to be true or turn out to not happen. I never take what they say seriously. Now for the top comments. He got mad and told me I was a bad friend, says the guy who didn't RSVP 2 times. He apparently told me he told our friend that he might be going. Even then he was not sure if he was gonna come. He told me that I should have asked him if he was coming. What does this guy think an RSVP is? Does he want someone to take a paper slip with, "Will you come to my birthday dinner?" Tick yes or no? Someone like this is not a friend. Not the a-hole. Cut him off from your life. You don't need this toxic and manipulative embarrassment of a human being for a friend. He told someone who wasn't involved in making the reservation that he might be coming. He didn't even mention it to OP. He clearly was just digging himself into a hole by blaming OP and couldn't even see it. Nice friend. Actually, I'm thinking he was hedging his bets. He didn't know if he was going because he was waiting to see if he had any better options for them. He didn't, or his first choice fell through, so he just went with a backup option. Not the a-hole. He had 2 chances to RSVP. He ignored both. That's on him. Not the a-hole. You ask people to RSVP. He didn't. You didn't include him in the reservation. End of story. Telling another friend he might be coming is not an adequate RSVP. or actually not an RSVP at all. I was like Opie's friend back in my 20s. Can't speak for the friend, but for me, I was really distracted all the time and unable to make a commitment. Until my friends let me know that my behavior was not okay. I just went along my merry way, being obtuse and rude but without ill intent. I'm not saying this to excuse Opie's friend, more to point out that Opie did exactly the right thing by drawing a line in the sand. Best case scenario is that Opie's friend is just flighty, and not a true fundamental a-hole, and he just needed a kick in the pants to shape up. Hopefully this will do the trick. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not paying for my stepbrother and sister-in-law's expenses after kicking them out? I, 29 female, was hosting a party for my mom and stepdad's wedding anniversary. I flew out my 3 step-siblings and their partners to all spend a week in my city, and then on the weekend we would have the party. I and my husband live in a pretty small flat, so there wasn't enough rooms for everyone to stay. So we offered for my stepbrother Mark and his partner Fran to stay on our yacht for the week. No one in our family likes Fran, because she's a militant social justice warrior and can't keep her opinions to herself, and she's always no general etiquette. So the week went on with Fran making out-of-pocket comments about our city and lifestyle, which was expected but still annoying. One night, me and my husband were attending a party and I didn't really fancy inviting Fran and Mark, but we did, and surprisingly everything was fine, though we didn't see them for most of the evening. We invited a few people back to our yacht for an after-party, and of course Mark and Fran were there. Fran was quite intoxicated and started again making inappropriate comments that were making people feel a bit awkward. One of our friends was telling a story about how he did something funny that incurred a fine. Fran got upset and said how the fine he had paid was more than most people make in a year, and he should be ashamed to be happy to throw that much money around. She said she was sad to see the amount of money being spent in our city and how ungrateful and wasteful we all are. Cue awkward silence. I jokingly said that next time Fran should take herself camping because I didn't spend the money to fly her out here, treat her to dinners and parties and yachts for her to be sad. And everyone laughed and moved on. Eventually, everyone left and we went to bed. The next morning, I told Mark and Fran that I was humiliated and horrified by her behavior, and I wouldn't have people being disrespectful to me while staying on my property. Of course, they were still welcome to come to the party and the flights home were taken care of, but they couldn't stay on the yacht until the party. I probably would have relented if there had been genuine remorse from them, but Fran doubled down on her attitude and I'd had it. After a brief argument, they left and went to stay in a hotel. The party went off without a hitch. We were all keeping the peace for parents' sake. A few days after they'd gone home, they sent me a bill for their hotel stay, saying that since I'd kicked them off the yacht, I should pay for their expenses. I sent them a response telling them where they could put their bill. This made rounds and my parents are now asking that I pay the bill, as it was a lot of money for them and not for me, and they came on holiday with the expectation that they wouldn't have to budget for accommodation. I said they wouldn't have had to if they'd had an ounce of decency, and that I won't be paying. But my parents are begging me so that it doesn't impact Mark and Fran financially. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Since this is a point of contention, yes, we did ask Mark and Fran if they were okay with the after party. Mark in particular was a fan of someone coming to the after party, so was very enthusiastic about it. And Fran said yes also. Had they wanted to go to bed, we'd have gone elsewhere. They came on holiday with the expectation that they wouldn't have to budget for accommodation. Well, you invited them and accommodated them with the expectation that you wouldn't be inconvenienced or humiliated by their disrespectful, sanctimonious behavior. So they should just learn to live with their disappointment just as you do with yours. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. Opie paid for an entire trip and Fran wanted to criticize them for it, while still reaping the benefits. This isn't about rich versus poor. I get why people can get upset with those living lavishly. It is about benefiting from someone's kindness and showing no tact or grace or respect. That's a good point. Fran may well have a point and or justification for her arguments, but for goodness sake, there's a time and a place. Spouting off about yacht-owning people being evil whilst on said yacht is kind of stupid. That said, I'm a bit confused why someone has a small flat but owns a yacht. I feel like yacht-owning people would live in some kind of large home. But what do I know? I'm not one of the yacht-owning people. Just about the yacht thing, in our city it's pretty common. Property is super expensive, and even if you have an obscene amount of money, you won't get the kind of space you would find in New York City or Dubai, for example. They just don't build like that here. So our apartment is quite pokey. It is a 5-bedroom, but with my other step-siblings there and my husband using one as an office, we didn't have any spare space, and rooms aren't ones where you could double up. That said, even this apartment was multiple times the cost of the yacht, so the yacht wasn't out of our means of spending. And it's the same for so many people here. Info. One of our friends was telling a story about how he did something funny that incurred a fine. Would someone who doesn't own a yacht consider this a funny anecdote? Or is that a question you can even answer? Yes, it wasn't funny, haha. It was one of those things you look back on and go, yeah, that was funny in hindsight. And he told it humorously. But it wasn't an out of touch, I backed my Lambo into a lake kind of thing. It was something that could have happened to anyone, and it's only because of the job he does that he got a fine from the association that his job is under. Other people do things like he did all the time, and there is no fine.